The storm hit fast. Lightning cracked across the sky like a whip. Trees swayed and bent under the heavy rain. Wind howled through the mountain forest, loud enough to shake the windows of Jason's cabin. Jason stood by the fire, tossing another log. In his cabin was small, just one room with a bed, a chair, and shelves full of books he'd already read twice. He liked the quiet. No noise, no people, no problems. But tonight, something was wrong. A loud boom shook the ground. Jason's eyes widened. That wasn't thunder. It was deeper, closer. He stepped to the window, peering through the wet glass. He saw smoke, black smoke, rising in the distance just past the trees, near the ridge. What the hell? He muttered. Jason grabbed his coat, flashlight, and rifle. He threw on his boots, grabbed his old army poncho, and stepped into the storm. The rain slapped his face. Wind pushed against him, but he moved fast, heart pounding. Something had crashed. And out here, in the middle of nowhere, there was only one thing that ever fell from the sky: a ship. He followed the smoke. It wasn't far, maybe half a mile through thick trees and rocks. Lightning flashed, lighting up the forest in blinding white for a second, and then he saw it. A silver pod, half buried in the dirt. The metal was scorched and cracked. One side had ripped open, smoke pouring out. The ground around it steamed, hissing like a kettle. Jason raised his flashlight and stepped closer. Then he heard it. A cough. He froze. A second cough, soft and weak, came from inside the pod. Jason dropped to one knee and pointed his light in. He saw her, a girl. Pale purple skin, glowing faintly. Long silver hair matted with blood and dirt. She was curled up in a tight ball, clutching something to her chest, a smooth black cube about the size of a loaf of bread. Her eyes blinked slowly. She saw Jason and flinched. "Easy," he said. "I'm not going to hurt you." She didn't understand, but her grip on the cube loosened. Her lips moved, saying something he couldn't understand. Jason didn't wait. He reached in and gently pulled her out. She was light, too light. Her skin was cold. She had cuts and bruises on her arms and legs. Her clothes were some kind of silver armor, soft but torn in many places. He wrapped her in the poncho and carried her back toward the cabin. Inside, he laid her near the fire and grabbed one of his old towels. She was shivering, her eyes half open. Jason knelt down and handed her the towel. "Here," he said. "Dry off." She looked at it, confused. Then she slowly reached out, touched the towel with her fingertips, and gasped the moment her skin touched the fabric. Her whole body tensed. A faint blue light flickered over her skin. Her eyes widened, and then something even stranger happened. She pressed the towel to her cheek and began to breathe easier. Jason stepped back. What the hell? She rubbed the towel across her arms, her chest, her face. Each time, her skin shimmered like it was healing. Bruises faded, cuts closed, even her breathing became steady. It was like the towel was more than just cloth, was doing something. She looked up at him. Her voice was soft, shaking. One word came out, almost like a whisper. "Safe." Jason blinked. "Did you just say, safe?" She nodded once. Then her eyes rolled back, and she collapsed. For the next 2 hours, Jason sat by her side, unsure of what to do. He checked her. Breathing, she was alive. Just sleeping or unconscious. He looked at the towel. It was glowing faintly now, as if it had absorbed something. He touched it. Nothing happened. "What the hell are you?" he whispered. Outside, the storm raged on. But inside, the fire burned warm and steady. Jason looked at the alien girl. She was strange. Hurt, alone, and somehow, The towel had helped her, but why? He didn't know what she was. He didn't know where she came from. But he knew one thing. Now this wasn't just a crash. It was the start of something much bigger. Asterisk, the cabin was quiet. The storm had passed, leaving only dripping trees and wet silence outside. Jason sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the alien girl lying on the floor beside the fire. She was still holding the towel, wrapped in his old poncho. Her chest moved up and down slowly. Her silver hair spread out like glowing threads. Her pale purple skin no longer looked sick, just strange. Her cuts were gone. Even the bruises had faded, and the towel. It wasn't normal anymore. It glowed faintly with a blue light, like it was alive. Jason leaned forward, squinting. The fabric shimmered when her fingers moved, like it responded to her touch. She stirred and let out a soft breath. Then suddenly, her eyes opened, bright, silver. Focused, Jason jumped a little. Startled. "You're awake," he said quietly. The girl didn't speak. She sat up slowly and looked around the room. Her eyes landed on Jason. She didn't smile, didn't run. She only stared. "Do you understand me?" he asked. She tilted her head, confused. Then she looked down at the towel again. Her fingers gently stroked it. She whispered something in her language, strange, musical. Soft dot, and then she pressed the towel to her chest. Her entire body glowed. A low hum filled the room. Jason stepped back, mouth open. It was like her body was pulling energy from the towel. Her veins lit up. Her skin shimmered. The fire flickered in response, the light bending strangely. Then it stopped. She gasped and dropped the towel. Her body fell forward, dash limp. Jason rushed to her. "Hey, no, stay with me." He lifted her gently and placed her on the bed. Her body was warm now, her breathing slow but steady. Eyes shut. It was like she'd passed out, but peacefully. The towel lay on the floor, no longer glowing. Jason touched it, still warm. "What the hell is this thing?" He whispered again. Morning came. Jason hadn't slept. He sat beside her all night, watching, waiting, trying to make sense of what he had seen. She finally woke again, just after sunrise. This time, she sat up without help. She looked at Jason with softer eyes, curious, cautious. Jason gave her some water. She drank slowly, eyes on him the whole time. He pointed to himself. "Jason," he said. She blinked. Then she pointed to herself. "Lyra," she said, voice rough but clear. Jason smiled a little. "Lyra, got it." Then she pointed to the towel. Her face turned serious. "That, not towel," she said slowly. Jason raised an eyebrow. "Not a towel." She shook her head, struggled for words. "Clean. Hurt. Poison. Not just cloth. It, fix." Jason sat back, trying to understand. "So it heals." She nodded. "Energy. It, connect. You give. It bond." He stared at the towel. "Bond. With. Me." She nodded again. "Only work. With. Heart. You. Good heart." Jason chuckled. "Well, damn. First time someone said that in years." Lyra didn't smile. She held the towel in both hands like it was sacred. Then her head jerked up. Beep, beep, beep. A sound came from her cube, the black box she'd held so tightly before. Jason tensed. "What's that?" Lyra's face filled with fear. She jumped from the bed, grabbed the cube, and stared at it. Red symbols blinked on the screen. "No. No, no, no," she said, panicked. She rushed to the fire. "Wait, what are you?" She threw the cube into the flames. Jason ran forward and yanked it out with a stick, burning his hand a little. He stomped the fire out on the rug and picked up the cube. It was still blinking, still beeping. Lyra's face was pale. Her hands shook. "They come," she said softly. "Who comes?" She met his eyes, her voice cracked. "Hunters." Jason locked the door, though he knew it wouldn't help against anything from space. He checked his rifle. Only 6 rounds left. His old solar charger was working, but slow. Supplies were thin. No real backup, and now they're being hunted. Lyra sat by the window, hugging the towel like a shield. Jason brought her a blanket, but she refused. She only wanted the towel. He watched her silently. Now, there was more to this girl than he'd thought. More to this towel, too. Maybe he should have just left her in that pod, but he didn't. And now, it was too late to go back. The cube would not stop beeping, even after it had been half melted in the fire. Even after Jason hit it with a hammer twice, the thing kept blinking. Red, red, red. With a sound like a heartbeat. Slow, steady, dangerous. Lyra stood near the door, frozen in place. Her hands clutched the towel tightly. Her eyes were wide with fear. Jason walked across the room and dropped the cube on the table between them. "I don't know what this is, but it's calling someone," he said. Lyra shook her head slowly. "Know someone," she whispered. "Some things." Jason frowned. "The hunters? That's what you called them?" She nodded, eyes never leaving the cube. "They follow signal, like blood in water." Jason looked out the window. Trees stood still in the early morning fog. No wind, no rain. Just a quiet that felt wrong. "Can we run?" he asked. Lyra looked at him like he was a child. No run from sky. Jason sat down, rubbing his face. He felt the weight of what was happening. He was a simple man, retired, lived alone. No friends nearby, no neighbors, no backup. He came here to escape the world, not aliens. And now he was playing hide and seek with monsters from the stars. How long until they come? Lyra walked slowly to the cube, staring at the blinking red symbols. She touched the screen. Her finger trembled. Soon, they packed what they could. Jason had one old backpack. He threw in a flashlight, extra batteries, dried food, a water bottle, a knife, and his last 3 ammo cartridges. Lyra took only 2 things, the glowing towel and the melted cube. "Why are you keeping that?" Jason asked. She didn't answer, just tucked it under her arm and followed him out the door. They left the cabin before noon. The sky was cloudy, thick and heavy. It felt like something above was watching. Jason led them through the thickest part of the forest, toward an old ranger cabin miles away. He hadn't used it in years, but it had a basement, old cum gear, and maybe if luck was on their side, one of those forgotten emergency transmitters. They moved fast, but quiet. Lyra didn't speak. She watched the trees, her ears twitching at every sound. Her body stayed close to Jason's, always keeping the towel against her skin. Jason noticed her breathing changed every time. She touched it, slower, stronger, like the cloth was giving her energy. How did a towel do all this? He asked softly. Lyra glanced at him. It is not just cloth. It has memory, power, soul. Jason raised a brow. Soul, fabric, has a soul. She nodded. It bonds with good, rejects bad. Well, Jason muttered, glad it likes me. Then they stopped. Something moved. Just ahead, near the creek bed, the bushes shook. Jason lifted his rifle slowly, holding a finger to his lips. Lyra crouched low. A deer bolted out, running across the path. Jason exhaled. Just a deer. But Lyra didn't relax. She stepped forward carefully and pointed to the ground. 3 sets of footprints. Not deer, not human. Jason bent down. The footprints were long, wide, with 3 thick claw-like toes. And worse, each one had burned the ground where it stepped. The grass was black. The dirt was glassy. "Holy hell," Jason whispered. Lyra knelt beside him. "They hear." Jason's heart pounded. He scanned the trees. "Nothing but shadows and branches. We keep moving." He said by the time they reached the old ranger cabin, the sun had dipped low. Shadows stretched long across the dirt clearing. The cabin stood untouched, dusty, locked, but still standing. Jason broke the lock and pulled Lyra inside. He shut the door behind them and blocked it with a wooden beam. Lyra sat on the floor, wrapping the towel around her shoulders like armor. Jason lit a candle. "We'll stay here tonight. They won't find us that fast." Lyra looked at the window. They already close. Jason opened the trapdoor to the basement and helped her down the old wooden steps. It smelled like dust and damp wood, but it was hidden, safe. For now, he lit a second candle and sat beside her. "Tell me the truth," he said. "Why are they hunting you?" Lyra was quiet for a long moment. Then she spoke. "My people made mistake. Created power. Too strong. It hurt many, so we locked it." She touched the towel gently. "This is part of it." Jason blinked. "That towel." She nodded. "One of 3. I was sent away to keep it safe. But signal, Tate." Jason stared at the cloth in disbelief. "You're telling me I've been using a galactic superweapon to dry my hands?" Lyra tilted her head. "It chose you, maybe, for a reason." Jason leaned back and laughed bitterly. "Great. Just great." Then the candle flickered. Jason looked up. The shadows on the walls shifted. Something was outside. Jason froze. The candle's flame danced like it had caught its breath, then it leaned sideways, as if blown by something that wasn't there. Lyra whispered, "They are near." Jason moved slowly, blowing out the candle with a soft breath. Darkness filled the basement, but he could still see the faint blue glow of the towel in Lyra's hands. She hugged it tighter, her eyes shut, breathing deep. Jason crept back up the stairs. Step by step, careful not to make a sound. He placed his ear against the floor. Silence. Then, a soft crack. Wood flexed somewhere above him. A footstep. Something was inside the cabin. He climbed back down, heart pounding in his ears. "They're here," he whispered. Lyra opened her eyes and nodded once. "I feel them. They smell me." Jason grabbed the rifle. He only had 3 bullets now, not nearly enough. If they found the basement, they were done. Suddenly, Lyra pulled something from under her cloak. A small metal sphere. "What is that?" Jason asked. "Flash bomb," she said. "Will blind, not kill." Jason looked at her. "You had that this whole time." She gave him a tired look. "I save for when I die." "Fair." She handed him the bomb. "Use if door opens." Cover eyes." Jason nodded and moved to the bottom of the stairs, holding the bomb tightly. Sweat ran down his back. Every second felt like an hour, but nothing came. Minutes passed. Then hours. Eventually, the wood stopped creaking. Jason waited longer until the dark felt endless before creeping. Back up again. Morning light touched the cabin through the cracks. It looked empty, quiet, normal. But as Jason opened the door and stepped outside, he saw it. Footprints burned into the dirt, just outside the cabin. 3-toed, clawed, heavy. He followed them with his eyes. They circled the house, pacing, watching, waiting. Then they stopped, disappeared. No trail away. Jason's mouth went dry. They just vanished, back inside. He found Lyra still holding the towel. She looked up and knew from his face what he had seen. "They test us," she said softly. "Hunt slow, careful." Jason ran a hand through his hair. "So they're still out there?" She nodded. "Yes. They wait until fear is deep, until hope breaks." Jason sighed. "Nice. Real friendly guys." She stood and walked to him, putting a hand on his chest. "You strong. Not break easy." Jason stared at her, surprised. Her voice was soft, but sure. "Why do you care what happens to me?" he asked. She looked at him for a long second. "You gave me your towel," she said. It was such a simple answer. But it hit Jason hard. Later that day, Jason and Lyra set traps around the cabin. Nothing fancy wire alarms. Glass bottles strung with fishing line. Even an old bear trap. Jason taught Lyra how to use a hunting knife, and she picked it up quickly. She was fast, quiet, smarter than she looked. But she was also getting weaker. That night, her skin lost some of its glow. She coughed. Her hands trembled. Jason noticed, even when she tried to hide it. "You okay?" She nodded too quickly. "Yes, just tired." He didn't believe her. "You said the towel heals you." "Is it not working?" She hesitated. "Only little left. I used too much already." Jason's chest tightened. "So, you'll fade." She smiled gently. "Maybe, but I have ye. You made me feel safe." Jason couldn't reply. Words stuck in his throat. Just before sunrise, Jason woke to the sound of something tapping glass. He sat up quickly, rifle in hand, tap, tap, tap. He crept to the front window and looked outside. Nothing. Then he looked down. A palm symbol drawn in blood. A circle with 3 lines through it. Right on the cabin wall, Jason's hands gripped the rifle tighter. He turned and woke. "Lyra." She opened her eyes, saw his face, and asked quietly, "They leave sign?" He nodded. She closed her eyes again. "They mark prey. That means they come tonight." Jason didn't panic. He didn't shout. He just got to work. He reinforced the door, sharpened the knives, double-checked the traps. Then he sat down next to Lyra and held her hand. "You're not dying," he said. She blinked. "You sound sure. I've seen worse." That was a lie. But she smiled anyway. They sat together as the last bit of light faded, waiting, listening. The forest outside fell quiet, too quiet. Then, growl, low, deep. Close. Jason stood up slowly. This time, they weren't just watching. This time, the hunters were coming. The first sound was scratching, soft, slow, like claws dragging across the wooden walls. Jason held his breath in the dark. Lyra clutched the towel, sitting beside him in the basement. Her glow had dimmed again. Her eyes were dull, her strength fading. Upstairs, the traps had been set. Wire trip alarms. A bear trap near the door. Old pans tied to strings. Not much, but it had to be enough. Then came the knock, 3 slow thuds. Jason gripped the rifle. "They're not knocking to be polite," Lyra whispered. "They test fear, want us to break." Jason's jaw tightened. "Then we won't." Another knock. This time harder. Louder. Something creaked floorboards above them. Jason stood and stepped to the bottom of the stairs. He looked up into the shadows. "Stay here," he whispered to Lyra. She reached out and grabbed his hand. Weak fingers. Cold skin. "Don't go," she whispered. "They want you alone." He looked back at her, torn between fear and fury. "I won't let them take you," he said. Jason crept up the stairs and listened. Silence. He pushed the trapdoor open, just enough to peek into the cabin. Nothing. He climbed out fully. Rifle ready. Slowly, he moved toward the window. He peeked outside, nothing but moonlight and trees. He turned around, then froze. On the table sat his shirt, the green one with the patched sleeves. It's the one he never wore anymore. It wasn't there. Before, someone or something had placed it there. On top of it, a long silver hair. Jason's blood ran cold. He grabbed the shirt and rushed back downstairs. Lyra looked up as he came down. Her eyes widened when she saw it. "My hair?" she whispered. "They touched me." Jason's heart pounded. "When?" "You didn't leave my side." She touched the back of her head. A small patch of hair was missing. Jason's stomach turned. He hadn't seen anything. "They were here," he whispered. They reached in, without a sound. Lyra was trembling, but then she did something Jason didn't expect. She took the shirt from his hands, held it close, and began to cry. Jason sat beside her, unsure what to say. "I know it's just a shirt," he said awkwardly. "But it's warm. It's yours if you want it." She shook her head, tears running down her cheeks. Her voice was soft, shaky. "Not just shirt. Not for us." Jason listened. "In my world," she said, "cloth is gift of soul. We give it only to family. Tribe, when we trust, when we love." Jason blinked. "Wait, love." She looked at him, serious but calm. "You gave towel, gave shirt. You gave care." Jason didn't know what to say. No one had said something like that to him in years. "You're not just a stranger anymore," she whispered. "You're my tribe now." He opened his mouth, but before he could answer, crash. Upstairs, glass shattered. The traps had been triggered. Jason jumped up and slammed the trapdoor shut. He dragged a metal shelf across it and pushed boxes on top. "Stay behind me," he hissed. He aimed his rifle at the ceiling. Dust fell down from footsteps. Heavy ones, growling now. Not outside, inside, then silence. Jason didn't breathe. He kept the rifle steady. Lyra knelt behind him, clutching the shirt and towel both. Then something scraped against the trapdoor. A claw. Testing the wood, Jason squeezed the rifle tighter. Suddenly, dash thump. The trapdoor shook. Jason fired. Boom! The shot lit up the room. The sound echoed through the basement. Wood splintered. Silence again. Jason reloaded. Only 2 rounds left. Then, a loud scream. Not human. Not animal. Something in pain. Then fading footsteps. Then gone. Jason didn't sleep. He sat in front of the trapdoor with the rifle in hand until morning light slipped through. The floorboards dot. When he finally opened the hatch again, he found blood. Dark green blood, and something else, a piece of metal. Smooth and curved like a mask. Broken down the center. Jason picked it up carefully. "They bleed," he said. "That means they can die." Lyra stood beside him, wearing his shirt now. It hung loosely on her, but she seemed stronger. Her glow had returned just a little. "They will come back," she said. "I know. But next time," she added, voice calm but cold, "we fight together." Jason looked at her small, alien, strange and nodded. They weren't running. Anymore. Not now. The scream came just after midnight. It wasn't from a bird, or a beast, or anything Jason had ever heard before. It was deep, sharp, like metal tearing through stone. Like a machine in pain, Jason sat upright, rifle in hand, heart already pounding. Lyra was already awake. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She simply whispered, "They're here." The traps hadn't stopped them. The one Jason shot the night before hadn't scared them. They were back. All of them this time. They weren't hiding. Jason and Lyra stood in the main cabin now, no longer in the basement. If this was going to be a fight, he didn't want to be boxed in again. Jason handed her a kitchen knife, sharp and heavy. "You. Sure, you're ready." Lyra nodded. She wore his shirt, now tightened with a rope around her waist. Her hair glowed slightly again, but her face was hard. No more fear, only fire. She clutched the towel in one hand and the knife in the other. Jason locked eyes with her. "No more running. No more hiding," she added. Then the wall exploded. A massive claw punched through the wooden wall like paper. Jason dove to the side as splinters flew. Lyra rolled under the table. Smoke filled the room as part of the cabin wall caved in. Through the dust came one of them 9 feet tall. Black armor like molten stone, a long tail dragging behind it. Its head was covered in a dark mask smooth. With glowing orange eyes, it didn't speak, it only roared. Jason fired once. The shot hit the creature's shoulder. It screamed and stumbled, but didn't fall. Jason fired again, hit the leg, still. It stood. "One left," he muttered. Lyra leaped forward, slashing at its side. The knife barely scratched the armor. The creature turned and swiped. Its claws tore through the air, just missing her. Jason dropped the rifle, grabbed the fire poker, and swung it hard into the back of the alien's head. The mask cracked. Lyra thrust her towel-wrapped hand against the creature's exposed skin flash. A pulse of blue light exploded from her palm. The creature let out a bone-rattling scream and collapsed. Its body twitched once, then stopped. Jason stared, wide-eyed. What the hell was that? Lyra was breathing hard. The towel still has power. Not much, but enough. Jason didn't get time to respond. Another roar echoed outside. Then, another. 3 more. Maybe more than that. Jason looked at the broken wall. "We need to move." Lyra pointed toward the forest. "Cave, close, safe, hidden." Jason grabbed the bag, the rifle, and the broken mask from the first hunter. Then they ran. The cave wasn't far, but every step through the woods felt like a lifetime. Branches snapped behind them. Trees moved. Shapes darted between shadows. Jason kept looking back. He saw glowing eyes. Just watching, waiting. Finally, they reached a rock face hidden behind thick vines. Lyra pulled back the brush and slipped inside. Jason followed. The cave was narrow at first, then opened into a wide hollow. Cold, dry. Safe for now. Jason collapsed on the ground, breathing hard. "Tell me there's only 4 of them," he said. Lyra was silent. Lyra. She looked at him, face pale. "There were 4 before," she whispered. "But Signal may have called more." Jason closed his eyes. Of course it did. They stayed in the cave the rest of the night. Jason examined the broken hunter mask. Inside it, wires and strange tech lined the shell. But near the eyes, something familiar. Flesh? It wasn't a robot. "They're alive under all this," Jason muttered. "Armor is just covering." Lyra nodded. "Created for war." "Long ago now, they hunt for sport. For trophies." Jason scoffed. "Can you? You're the prize." Lyra didn't answer right away. "I carry old power. My blood remembers it. They want it. Fear it." She touched the towel gently. "This cloth once belonged to our guardians, warriors of light. It still listens." Jason shook his head. "And? Now it's listening to a stubborn man in the woods." She smiled faintly. "You are more than that." Okay. Jason couldn't sleep. At sunrise, he stood outside the cave, rifle ready. The forest was still. To still, he looked down at the ground. Then his heart dropped. Footprints, big, fresh, and not just one set. They had found the cave. Jason turned back inside. Lyra, he said. We're out of time. She stood, tired but ready. Jason looked into her eyes. If we don't make it, I'm glad you crashed near my cabin. She stepped closer, placed her hand on his chest again. No, she said softly. We fight and we live. Jason raised the rifle. Then, let's make them regret ever setting foot on Earth. Jason stood at the edge of the cave, rifle raised. Watching the forest, the morning sun had just started breaking through the trees. It should have been peaceful, but at WASN, single quotes, not with the glowing eyes moving in the shadows, not with the low growls echoing from behind the trees. They were surrounded. Lyra stood beside him, holding the towel close to her chest like it was a piece of her soul. Her breathing was shallow, her glow dim. The power in the towel was nearly gone, and the hunters knew it. They wait for weakness, she said softly. Wait for us to lose hope. Jason didn't answer. He was thinking. Fast, if they ran, they'd be caught. If they stayed, they'd be torn apart. Unless... Jason looked at the towel. Can you use it one last time? He asked. Lyra shook her head. Not enough power. I gave it all. Then she paused. But, if I give it to you, maybe it'd listen one last time. Jason blinked. What do you mean, give it to me? It's already bonded, right? Only half, she said. You must accept it, not just hold it. Accept what it is, what it carries. Jason looked at the towel, dirty, glowing faintly. A simple cloth, yet not simple at all. It had healed, protected, saved, and now? It might be the key to ending this. Lyra stepped close. She placed the towel in his hands. You gave me safety, she said, tears in her eyes. Now I give you power. Jason gripped the towel at first. Nothing happened. Then, warmth, rushing into his arms, his chest, his mind. Memories that weren't his. Voices from another world. Light pouring through darkness. The towel glowed again brighter than ever before. It wasn't cloth anymore. It became a crystal. Floating in his palms, Jason gasped. Lyra stepped back. Now they fear you. The ground trembled. The first hunter stepped into the clearing, then another, and another 4, 5.6. All of them staring at Jason, snarling but not attacking. They could feel the change. Jason held the glowing crystal high. You want her? He shouted. Then come through me. One hunter roared and charged. Jason didn't move. The crystal pulsed, boom. A wave of light exploded outward. The ground shook. The charging hunter was thrown back into the trees, smoking and screaming. The others hesitated. Jason took a step forward. The light spread around him now like armor. His voice echoed as he shouted, This is Earth. She is under my protection. Another hunter charged. Jason raised his hand. The light struck like lightning. The hunter dropped, unmoving. Then, silence. The remaining hunters stepped back. Then, they ran, vanished into the woods. Jason stood, shaking, the light fading. The crystal cracked in his hand, then turned to dust. He dropped to his knees, gasping for breath. Lyra rushed to him, kneeling beside him. You did it? She whispered. Jason looked at her, exhausted. No, he said. We did. Later, as the sun rose high, they sat together on the rocks near the cave. Jason looked at the pile of dust where the crystal had vanished. So, what was it, really? He asked. Lyra smiled. A tool, a memory, a protector, and now it's gone. She reached over and took his hand. No, now it lives in you. Jason looked at her. Can they come back? Maybe, she said. But next time, they won't find us alone. Jason chuckled. Guess I'm part of your tribe now. She tilted her head. No. Jason blinked. No. She leaned closer. You are my family. Weeks passed, they returned to Jason's cabin. Fixed the walls, cleared the traps, planted new seeds in the garden. Lyra stayed. She didn't talk about leaving. She didn't want to. Jason taught her how to cook, how to fix things, how to laugh. She taught him words in her language. They built something together. One morning, Jason walked outside to find Lyra sitting on the porch. She had stitched something. A small new towel. Rough, uneven, but made with care. She handed it to him. I made this, she said. Not magic, just human. Jason smiled, touched. He took the towel and wrapped it around her shoulders. Even without power, he said, it still means something. She looked at him. It means everything.